welcome to Talking WoW, the podcast where we talk about World of Warcraft, believe it or not. My name is Tom, and today we're going to be taking a little look at WoW Remix, giving some thoughts and feelings about that so far, and maybe a few suggestions about how this mode could improve and maybe be the best way to play WoW between expansions. To do that, I've got my co-host here who's taking a little break from Remix to record some podcasts. Hey Marty, how are you?
I mean, can we do this really, really quickly? Because I need to get back and find some bronze and some thread for my cloak. You know, I'm kind of busy.
You're hooked, aren't you?
Well, I don't know if I'm... I mean, sure, I'm hooked. I am hooked.
I don't. It's like I don't know if I'm hooked. Yes, you are.
I am. That was the answer. I'm actually. I don't think I really. Before this came out, I don't think I fully understood how this would be. But I think my quick, explanation of how I see this now is that this is basically playing a Diablo season, but in World of Warcraft. You get powered up insanely, and you can solo everything, and you just hit a button, and everything explodes, and it's really just like playing Diablo in World of Warcraft. And I, for one, really, really enjoy that.
Yeah, I definitely get that similar vibe as well of just, like you say, running in there, pulling a big pack of mobs and then taking them down. And it feels a little different from, doing it on retail where you go back to an old zone and you one-shot stuff. It feels a little bit different, even though you're like really powerful, because sometimes, it takes 2 hits to kill something, Barty, not one. And I don't know, that seems to make a big difference. With regard to the smoke, you just have several more seconds to enjoy the big numbers flashing up everywhere. I don't know if you're like just sort of sitting there like me, and I'm just like, oh wow, look at all those numbers just popping around, and it's a good feeling. Like it's a great sort of foundation for the mode where it was advertised as you're going to be really imbalanced, you're going to be overpowered, and we're not probably going to talk about too much of the controversy, I suppose, of people finding like hyper spawn points to level up really fast. I mean, what's done is done. Like that stuff was in the game, people have done that. But what I'm finding now, several weeks into the mode, is like, yes, I'm feeling this power. Like, are you feeling yourself grow? Are you feeling like, oh yeah, my character is getting more powerful? This is like really good.
I mean, 100% I do feel it, because we did just a fun little guild thing the other night, and I am probably the one in the guild who has been playing this mode the most. Other people have just about, some just leveled to 70, others have been at 70 for a very short time. Someone wasn't even 70 yet, but we jumped in and did the raids, and I pretty much carried most of those raids. Towards the later end of the raids, obviously, they do get a little bit more difficult, and you do need more damage and stuff like that. We did decide to grab some randos just to fill the spots and get a bit more damage in. But the first few raids are 100% just carried everyone through them, and it felt so good. It was so much fun.
Yeah, there is that feeling that this is allowing people to have a bit more freedom, I suppose, of just jumping into a raid together. And yeah, maybe you don't really need healers, or maybe you don't really need tanks at some point, because everyone's just sort of following a crowd. But I think because this is limited time, that it feels good. Like, it feels okay. Like, if this was how it was going to be for, the next 6 months, I think it would get tiring. It'd be like, this is, there needs to be some sort of structure to this. But because it is limited time, and, we have that expectation of just, we're just blasting through stuff. We're just having fun. We're collecting bronze. We're unlocking cosmetics. We're powering up our characters, that it really works quite well. And something I'm finding, Marty, is that I'm finding it really difficult to log into Dragonflight, and the times I have done it have been to actually unlock some of the allied races that I haven't unlocked, so I can make a new character in time running, which I'm going to use that race for. And it actually feels a bit alien to log into Dragonflight and just not have, the speed or these extra abilities. And if it really has done well to make itself feel like its own thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because I thought in my mind before this that I would be focused on season 4 and doing that, and then remix would be something on the sideline. And to be fair, it's been the exact opposite. I've been playing remix so much that it's really hard, as you say, to lock into retail. I have done it there's still a few small things that I want to get done, but I'm so close at getting them done, and I feel like I feel like I'm almost done with retail. But obviously, there's still, 80, almost 70 something days at recording left of remix, and that's still quite a few days. So maybe I will get to a point I'm just like, all right, I'm tired and done with remix, and I'm back in retail and doing some things. Obviously, I cannot say that yet, but right now, currently, as we're recording this, I'm enjoying it so much that I'm almost like I wish I didn't want to go get my vault filled up, because I want to just keep doing this.
So something we talked about as well, like off podcast, but we'll bring it up here anyway, because it seems like a good place to do that, is like future remixes. Like, can you see them doing this again? And if so, like, what do you think would be the expansion you'd pick to go to next?
I mean, I could totally see them doing this again. I just hope that they don't do it like its own game mode. I mean, it probably could be like a game mode that could exist outside, sort of like, like classic and stuff like that, and doing that like a season based. I want to participate, so I really hope that they don't. I hope it's sort of like an end of the season thing, where we get to do wacky things like this.
It feels like that's the perfect time, right? Because if we didn't have remix right now, like maybe we'd be jumping into like season 4 a little bit, but honestly, I don't think I'd be playing WoW that much at all. Whereas remix, I'm putting some serious freaking hours into this thing. It's kind of mind blowing. It is like this expansion has just come out, and it feels like I'm putting, new expansion amount of time and hours into this mode right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think I would be the same, that if we hadn't had this, then I would probably be doing season 4, and probably also starting to get to a point where I'm a little bit bored of season 4, I reckon, because we did get or at least I reached my goals fairly quickly. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
It's like damn it, Bliss, this is the time where I play other games, and now you've given me this, and I can't play other games. Well, you can.
I know.
It's very.
That's the big conundrum.
It's just very Moorish, isn't it? It's just like, it is quite an addictive sort of gameplay loop, and I just find myself going in there every day. Maybe some days I'll go and do a few quests out in the world, progress the story a little bit. Some days I'm just like, I'm just gonna go do that dungeon daily, that raid daily, that scenario daily. And I got to a point where now I'm like, oh yeah, I want to like level a couple of other characters just on the slow burn, and it feels like you're achieving multiple things. So right now I'm like, yeah, I'm collecting bronze, which I'm gonna use to unlock cosmetics, but also I'm leveling up like these other characters, and I'm sort of doing it, I've got them all in the same pot, and I'm like cooking up this great sort of feeling here, where I think normally, you get to the point of between expansions where maybe you're like, okay, I want this alt for the new expansion, and you just gotta go through the motions, don't you, of maybe leveling it through time walking, or just going through the expansion quests again. I don't know, at this point you just feel like, really, like, is that okay, like if that's what I have to do? But this feels just so fresh and exciting that actually having like 2 or 3 other characters on the go doesn't feel like a big chore. It just feels like it's part of the fun, part of the experience, and actually something that maybe you're encouraged to do a little bit as well. I don't know if you've played too many alts. I mean, we call you Marty the alt guy, Marty the old guy. Sorry, I got that mixed up. But like, have you dabbled into playing other characters?
Actually, not too much. I actually stuck to my main for a change, because I want to get my main, upgrade everything, so I can feel like how it is to have everything upgraded, and it looks like fun when other people do that. So that's sort of like been my focus. I do feel though that towards because as I said, there's still like over 2 months of this left. So I reckon that at some point I probably will be focusing a little bit more on alts, get them up, the ones that I want and need for the War Within. But right now, I'm actually just very content with just having my main, and I still have so many things to do, so many achievements I want to get done, and I'm just enjoying my time in there.
Yeah, and it's given me a chance to, I guess, play with the cloak, because that was advertised as, you're going to build up power on it, and then when you make an alt, that's going to be powerful as well. And I think initially we sort of had this thought of, any stats that you earn on your cloak, like that's just going to be spread across your entire account. Since Remix launch, we found out that it's not quite a 1-to-1 stat ratio, which I think is a little bit disappointing, because I think if you had this one cloak and then you could be powering it up on your alts as well, I think that would be a really good feeling to have, especially because we're moving more towards warbands, account-wide stuff. The fact that it doesn't sort of reflect like what my main character is, it's still pretty powerful, don't get me wrong. Like, you can make a level 10 and you feel like a god, but I want to feel like a double god, Marty. It could be even better than that.
I think there's definitely something that could be worked with there to make that feel better, because I actually feel like it didn't feel super great, the level that the cloak is at. I mean, you're still, as you said, feel like a god, but I also do feel like if my level 10 ult got the cloak that I'm wearing on my main, that would be insane. That would be like so crazy. But what I do think they could work on at the minimum that would carry over is the XP gain, because getting more XP gain as a max level feels really, really pointless. So that's probably a few different routes. I know that you probably have a different idea as well, but my idea is that maybe that XP gain could be converted over to being like an account-wide XP gain. So when you are working on your alts, you increase your account-wide XP gain. I think that could be a cool way to do it. So the more you play and the more alts you play, the quicker you'll level up. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, and it's called like time running after all, so it does give me the impression of like, yeah, you're just going to be running characters through that, and it should be feeling like it's getting quicker, every time you do it, even if it's, just a little bit of a percentage sort of thing. And like another idea we had as well was that, when your character gets to 70, that XP gain like changes into bronze gain or something, and you suddenly, see yourself gaining a little bit more bronze for, completing a quest, or maybe just, bronze that drops from mobs and such like that. Just like building that up a little bit so you can see these notable differences as you, level up your character, power up your character. And I know the big thing is like upgrading your gear. You do suddenly see like that's where the power comes from. Yes, we have this cloak, but I'm actually a little disappointed that the real power is in the gear upgrades, because it feels like I thought it was going to be the cloak, and the cloak makes a bit of a difference, but compared to the gear, it's like, no, the gear is where it's at. And I think that's a little bit unfortunate, because like one of the big issues there is you have this choice to make when you first play the game, and you get to 70, and then it's like you may have spent a load of bronze on cosmetics, and then it's like, oh, well, yeah, you probably actually need to upgrade your gear, because it does make a big difference. It does help you, get through some of the content, survive the content, and you may have like spent your initial bronze, or, you're on the flip side of that, Marty, where you're just spending all your bronze on upgrades to start. And, to me, that doesn't feel like it's capturing what the game mode is supposed to be. And I don't know if the solution is we just don't have gear, or should there have maybe been like a separate currency for like upgrading gear?
Yeah, I don't really know. I just know that I'm totally with you. It really feels bad because I also want to collect some of these, transmog sets and stuff like that. So it does currently feel a little bit bad that I'm spending all that on upgrading gear instead of buying the stuff that I want. But I mean, I guess that is at the end of the day my own choice, because I also want to be insanely overpowered. But yeah, it doesn't feel the best. I will 100% agree with that.
Yeah, you said you got to spend some bronze to make some bronze. And I think that probably will be the case. I am interested just to see how this snowballs, in a month's time. What are we looking at power levels? And, are we just running through like mythic raids with a couple of people and we're just swimming in bronze like Scrooge McDuck or something like that? But I think it's hard to really see that at the start of the event. We're a couple of weeks in and I can see it turning towards a more positive thing, but I also understand, like I'm saying, like you're putting quite a few hours into this to achieve this stuff, so I don't know if like in the future that needs to be tweaked a little bit as well, because it can feel very overwhelming and there's a lot of content there. And we know when Mists of Pandaria came out, right, that it was an overwhelming thing with like all the factions, all the quests, and thankfully we don't really have to do rep grinds here because the rep is given at such an accelerated rate. But I think like there could be just small little tweaks from what we've got there right now, and I think they are so close for this being like the best mode between expansions. Like it is wonderful, it's amazing, it's incredible, and I think you're just a few tweaks, a few changes away from this just being something that you could almost standardize it, that yep, it's like between expansions, like, oh, what remix are we going to get? And you could, you know, change it up with the like the gem system. You could, you know, tinker that a little bit, and I think that also gives you like this really exciting period, doesn't it, Marty? Like where you're between expansions and usually, you know, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I don't really have anything to do. This could be like this sort of mini time running expansion launch where like, yes, can't wait to jump into Legion, for example, and blast through that, or, you know, Shadowlands, because some people didn't play that and it could be fun.
In Legion, you don't even have, it doesn't have to be the cloak, it could be a weapon that you're powering up.
Oh, look at that. Giving Blizzard some fresh ideas there.
Fresh ideas, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think, you know, overall, looking at the community, it feels like, yeah, there's some pain points there, but I mean, we say it's small changes. It feels like, you know, maybe like code-wise, it's not a small change, but initially, like what they've got here with Remix, I think it has a lot of potential. I think it is a really solid game mode, and, you know, it's a great way to revisit the past, but have that fresh perspective, that fresh spin on it. And, you know, a few weeks in, it's still feeling really good. Maybe we'll catch up again, Marty, at the end of Remix, and we'll just be there with like big bags under our eyes. We're just like, no more. I can't look at one more piece of bronze. I'm sick of it. But, you know, so far so good, and it feels potentially good for the future.
I 100% agree.
What do you think out there, dear listener? Do you agree with what we're saying? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, hang on, what are these two people on about? Here's what I think. You can leave us a comment in the places that you can do that. We're on social media. We're on YouTube at Talking WoW. Leave us a comment. You know, we might even reply to it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I've been Tom.
I've been Marty.
And we've been Talking WoW.
Thanks for tuning in, champion. Did you enjoy this episode of Talking WoW? If so, why not drop a review on your podcast catcher of choice, or leave us a comment. You can find Talking WoW on Twitter or YouTube over at Talking WoW. Hope to see you again soon.